This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Hello again and welcome to the broadcast. Winter weather is complicating Tuesday travel across a huge swath of the country. David Parkinson gets us started from the National Weather Service.
Today, the biggest snow totals likely coming out of the Kansas City area. We've got a winter storm warning in effect. That one is going to be running throughout the day today and potentially even into Wednesday morning. 5 to 10 inches of snow broadly across that section of the country. And then later on today, things really start to get underway in portions of the lower Ohio River Valley and then into the mid-Atlantic.
Our listening area gets in on the action late tomorrow and Thursday. Meteorologist Kevin Williams says things get sloppy and slippery then.
It's a real mix. You'll see it all. Rain, freezing rain, sleet, snow, some wind. If a kitchen sink were to fly by, wouldn't be surprised. So be ready for that. That's again tomorrow night into Thursday.
All right, Kevin, we'll check back with you in a few. In the meantime, let's check the day's other big story. President Trump encouraging Israel to break its ceasefire deal with Hamas. That's if all the hostages held by Hamas are not released by this weekend. When this weekend? The president at the White House last night.
Saturday at 12 o'clock, and after that, it's going to be a different ballgame.
Hamas accuses Israel of not living up to the terms of the truce, and it's delaying letting go any more hostages. So far, 21 of the 33 hostages that were supposed to be freed in phase one of the deal have been returned to Israel. Families of the remaining hostages are worried time is running out for those still alive. President Trump rolls out the red carpet today for Jordan's King Abdullah. He's the first Arab leader to visit the White House since Trump started his second term. Today's meeting comes amid a controversial proposal for the U.S. to take over the Gaza Strip and resettle Palestinians in neighboring countries like Jordan. A judge in Boston is putting on hold the president's buyout offer for 2 million federal workers.
When you look at the legal pushback alone, it's not only delaying the president's government downsizing plans, but it's left thousands of federal workers in limbo.
Alexandria Hoff with Fox News.
The lawsuit was brought on by unions representing federal workers, arguing that the administration lacks the authority to make such an offer. The government argued it has the right to manage its workforce.
So far, 65,000 federal workers have taken the buyout offer, which offers full pay and benefits through September for employees who resign now. Many Americans are expressing concern over the impact the Trump trade tariffs might have on the price you pay for the stuff you buy. But White House aide Peter Navarro does not share those concerns.
We're not worried about this exacerbating any problem with inflation.
Energy Secretary Chris Wright thinks in the end the get tough approach with other countries will pay off for us.
I think there's concerns, but if you look at the track record, I'd be pretty optimistic about what the next 4 years are going to bring for the American economy and our relations with the rest of the world.
New trade tariffs are set to kick in early March on Mexico and Canada. A new CBS News poll gives President Trump a 53% approval rating. However, that same poll shows many Americans are not happy about the free rein given to Elon Musk inside the Trump White House. Massachusetts Democrat Elizabeth Warren.
This is like a bank robber trying to fire the cops and turn off the alarms just before he strolls into the lobby. We are here to fight back.
Victor Davis Hanson at the Hoover Institution.
They keep saying Elon Musk. He doesn't have a statutory role in actually making the cuts. He's an auditor. He just goes through. He says these are the things that we find wasteful, and then the president, either himself or through his cabinet officers, makes the actual cut.
Still, Democrats continue to try and curtail the cost-cutting efforts by the Musk-led Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE for short. They're going to court to prevent the world's richest man from trimming any more the fiscal fat off of Uncle Sam. Utah Republican Mike Lee thinks these delay tactics, however, will not be successful.
Having lost in the court of public opinion, having lost elections, they're now going to try their hand hand at litigating and at picking off a few liberal one-off judges here and there in order to slow the process down. But make no mistake, the right side of this is going to prevail.
The senator says the Trump administration has a mandate from the American people to ferret out waste and abuse within our federal government. Democrat turned Trump ally Tulsi Gabbard a step closer to becoming the next director of national intelligence. Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Tom Cotton rejecting critics' concerns about Gabbard's alleged ties to countries like Russia or Syria.
She has undergone 5 FBI background checks. I spent more than 2 hours last week reviewing the latest, putting eyes on more than 300 pages. It's clean as a whistle.
A final vote to confirm the former Hawaii Congresswoman will happen late tonight or early Wednesday. A victory parade will happen this Friday for the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. The Birds beat the Chiefs in Super Bowl 59 on Sunday to claim their second title in franchise history. That parade starts at Lincoln Financial Field and will culminate with a rally on the iconic steps of the Philadelphia Art Museum. Still to come on the Noon Report for a Tuesday, masks are back in Pennsylvania. Meet the 93-year-old barber and flag football at SUNY Brockport.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. It's a pretty serene weather scene now across the region, but we got some messy weather on the way. But tomorrow and Thursday, we'll have forecast details in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll stick around for that. In the meantime, let's check the stories that are making news where you live, all across New York and Pennsylvania. 4 months into flu season, and health officials say influenza remains robust.
We've had more cases and hospitalizations this year than we've had in the previous 3 or 4 years.
Brian Backinson with the New York State Health Department.
We've seen nearly 300,000 cases of flu so far in the 2024-2025 flu season, and just under 20,000 hospitalizations so far.
Backinson says the flu is especially dangerous for young children and senior citizens. The University of Pittsburgh Medical Center is re-implementing a mask policy to combat the spread of respiratory illness. Starting tomorrow, masks are a must at all UPMC hospitals and outpatient clinics. Hospital staff, patients, visitors, and support personnel will be required to wear a mask until further notice. The Pennsylvania Department of Corrections has identified 2 prisons that it plans to close within the next 3 months. One is a boot camp in Clearfield County, the other a 110-year-old prison in Center County. That prison was the first in PA to utilize the electric chair. The other, the Q-Hanna boot camp, is a military-style prison used to incarcerate low-level offenders. We get more in this report from WJAC's Bailey Wojcik.
DOC officials say that the proposed closures would save the Commonwealth approximately $10 million within the next fiscal year. On the other hand, the State Corrections Officers Association released a statement calling the decision misguided. They say that violence in prisons is often related to overcrowding, which could potentially happen when inmates from the closing prisons are transferred to other facilities.
900 guards work at those 2 prisons. A public comment period on the proposed closures will get underway shortly. New York Democrats continue efforts to squash federal immigration enforcement. Family Life's Sarah Harnish has that story.
2 Democratic lawmakers have introduced the New York for All Act, which would require federal agents get a judge's order for arrests, even immigrants with known criminal backgrounds. The bill would also limit where arrests can be made, blocking sensitive locations like schools or shelters. The group says ICE agents are, quote, traumatizing families. President Trump's administration has said there's a clear choice: the safety of illegal immigrants or the safety of your own children and family. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
The attempted murder trial of Hadi Matar continues today in Mayville, New York. That New Jersey man accused of stabbing world-famous author Salman Rushdie at the Chautauqua Institution back in 2022. Rushdie lost his right eye in the attack. He was stabbed over 10 times. Matar faces life in prison if convicted. Pennsylvania politicians are spending a lot of energy on energy these days. Republicans are pushing a plan that would back the Commonwealth out of a deal to tax companies for the carbon they produce.
We don't want to be in a situation in a couple years where people are flipping on switches and lights aren't coming on.
That's House Republican leader Jesse Topper. He says having a reliable energy grid is vital to a thriving Pennsylvania economy. Senate Majority Leader Joe Pittman.
I think we have to recognize, too, that our role as a Commonwealth in the big picture of the globe relative to the emitting of carbon is really insignificant.
Pittman says it doesn't make sense to punish Pennsylvania power producers when countries like India and China are the main culprits behind so-called climate change, and they're not punished at all. A Pennsylvania college trying a new approach to alleviate the teacher shortage problem. Family Life's Brian Query has that story new at noon.
After hosting an educator career fair last spring, St. Vincent College and the Westmoreland Intermediate Unit knew they needed to take a different approach. That's why the groups will host the Aspire to Teach Expo this Thursday from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Latrobe Pennsylvania College. The event is tailored to recent college graduates and workers from non-education fields who are interested in a career change. But those with a bachelor's degree in another field can learn about alternative teacher certification options. As of October, nearly 2,500 teaching positions were vacant across Pennsylvania. Brian Query, Family Life News.
The number of older New Yorkers who live in poverty has increased 50% the past decade. 49% of adults over 70 reported zero retirement income last year. At the same time, the number of older New Yorkers who are returning to the workforce has risen by over 50%. Experts say older New Yorkers are not working because they want to. They're working because they have to. New York slapped a ban on a relative newcomer in the AI marketplace. We get those details from Family Life's Mark Webster.
Yeah, Governor Hochul issued the statewide ban on DeepSeek artificial intelligence from being downloaded onto any state-managed devices and computer networks. DeepSeek's a cheaper Chinese version of established AI leaders such as OpenAI and is already quite popular with private users, showing up as the top free download on Apple's iPhone store. But there's government concern over just what DeepSeek might seek on state and federal computer systems, given its likely ties to the communist Chinese government, including the possibility it could be used for data harvesting and stealing tech secrets. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
A Cumberland County, Pennsylvania man is still cutting hair at the ripe old age of 93. Guy D'Agostino works twice a week at Seamoff's Barber Shop in the town of New Cumberland. He's been employed there since arriving to the mid-state region from Italy decades ago.
He's been here close to 35 years, and he's just old school, perfect gentleman, perfect employee.
Barbershop owner Chris Seamoff says he can remember maybe only one or two times that Guy D'Agostino's called in sick in the more than 30 years that he's worked at that barbershop. SUNY Brockport in Western New York will have a women's flag football team next year. Marks a significant milestone for that university's athletic program.
I think flag football is just a great thing. I've watched football for a very long time, so getting to play it and giving other women the opportunity to get on that field and play football, that's been a personal mission of mine.
Kat Althouse helped start flag football at SUNY Brockport. Next fall, the club team becomes a varsity sport, competing in the Empire 8 Conference against schools like Geneseo, Hartwick, Sage, and Elmira. More sports next. It's the 2-Minute Drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, the city of brotherly love is set to celebrate their NFL championship on Friday. Philadelphia will have a big parade to honor the Eagles' 40-22 win over the Chiefs in Super Bowl 59. Reflecting back on the victory, Eagles coach Nick Sirianni told the media yesterday he was grateful his team collapsed at the end of last season because it shaped them for their playoff run. Several players on the Eagles also said all of the talk about the Chiefs and a possible third straight Super Bowl win really motivated them. Brandon Graham said it was kind of a slap to the team. Well, whatever they used as motivation, it worked, and it worked well. On to the NBA. The Brooklyn Nets have now won 5 of 6 after a 97-89 victory over the Hornets. The Cavs 128-107 winners against Minnesota, despite 44 points from Anthony Edwards. Atlanta got past Orlando 112-106. The Spurs won by 10, 131-121 over the Wizards. Celtics beat the Heat 103-85. Golden State a 125-111 winner over Milwaukee. The Thunder crushed the Pelicans 137-101. The Kings eked out a 129-128 overtime victory over the Mavs. Denver blew out Portland 146-117, and the Jazz fell to the Lakers 132-113. Baseball is back. Spring training begins tomorrow with pitchers and catchers reporting. It's going to be fun to see how teams will fare after improvements to the Yankees, Dodgers, and Mets. The Amazons signing the biggest prize in the offseason, nabbing Juan Soto, and they also brought back Pete Alonso. Full squads will report next week. That is a look at sports.
Oh, I love the sound of that. Baseball is back. Thank you, Randy. And still to come on the Noon Report, a king at the White House, Gaza ceasefire ultimatum, and string of storms starts today. Kev's got that tricky forecast after this.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. Well, it's been 7 years since the Supreme Court deregulated sports gambling, and each year since, the amount of cash that changes hands over games grows. Just a few days before Sunday's Super Bowl, the American Gaming Association predicted that about $1.39 billion would be gambled on that single event. But for those who use any of these online platforms and apps to place sports bets, it's not a single event. Gamblers can bet on almost any aspect of the game. The score per quarter, first touchdown, who'd be selected MVP, which team would win the coin toss. In fact, one rather detailed New York Times article explained that one could even wager on the length of the national anthem. Sports gambling went from illegal to fully integrated in American life at remarkable speed. Both ESPN and Sports Illustrated now have their own betting apps. And the different possible bets, missed spreads, and predictions are now nightly features on shows like SportsCenter and other programs. In other words, sports reporters now report on the odds as if they were describing the game itself. In just about every way possible, gambling is certainly now part of the game. Not to mention, as every red-blooded male old enough to have a job can attest, logging on to any social media platform like X or YouTube means being bombarded with sports gambling ads, often featuring celebrities, top athletes, and easy first steps for easy wins. The fact that so many gambling sites sound like drug dealers offering the first one for free deal should tell us something. Made in God's image as we were, it's among the worst human impulses to seek something for nothing, to gain profit without contributing labor in service to God and our neighbors. As David Bahnsen wrote, quote, "In the marketplace where most people spend most of their time, there's an opportunity for incredible cultural conquest and influence. I believe that we have to understand creationally why God made us for that higher calling. In fact, I think that the culture-wide loss of calling and meaning is the only thing that can adequately explain just how quickly sports gambling went from being illegal to being so integrated into American life. The flashy promises are particularly enticing to those who don't know who or why they were made to be. Work is a created good, not a result of the fall, and so work should not be avoided for some shortcut workaround like gambling. As David Bahnsen describes in his excellent book entitled Full Time, Work and the Meaning of Life, work is inherently connected to the meaning of life. That's why there's no shortcuts, not when it comes to wealth, not when it comes to meaning. So get a copy of David Bahnsen's book, Full Time, Work and the Meaning of Life. You can pick up a copy with a gift of any amount to the Colson Center this month. Visit us at colsoncenter.org/February. That's colsoncenter.org/February. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint.
All right, John, doing a great work at Breakpoint. Thank you very much. You know who else is doing a great work? Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life weather forecast for this afternoon. And tonight, generally cloudy with a few scattered flurries. Some light snow across parts of Pennsylvania near and south of I-80. High temperatures nearing 30, low tonight in the teens. For tomorrow, snow or wintry mix arriving late in the day. High temps mid-20s to mid-30s. The wintry mix changes to rain showers tomorrow night. Rain showers will change back to snow showers Thursday. The temperatures falling from the 40s into the 20s.
All right, should be an interesting few days around here. Thank you, Kevin. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. So glad you've joined us. I'm your host, Bob Price, and there's a lot to get to this Tuesday afternoon, the 11th of February. President Trump welcoming Jordan's King Abdullah to the White House amid concern that a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas may not last much longer. It is crumbling by the minute in the Middle East. NBC's Keir Simmons.
This ceasefire was always likely to be more fragile over time. Now more doubts over the release of hostages, including Americans, as President Trump weighs in.
Mr. Trump last night suggesting that the Israelis break off their truce with Hamas if all the hostages are not let go by Saturday.
If all of the hostages aren't returned by Saturday at 12 o'clock, I think it's an appropriate time. I would say cancel it and all bets are off.
Hamas is delaying the next hostage release after accusing Israel of violating terms of the ceasefire. The terror group did let go 3 Israeli men over the weekend. They were gaunt, emaciated, and severely malnourished. The men say they had been tortured by Hamas. President Trump signed a pair of executive orders last night that impose stiff new tariffs on steel and aluminum imports. That report from correspondent Garrett Hayes.
Trump's move would benefit American producers of steel and aluminum, but could also lead to higher prices. Those metals are used in everything from food packaging like soda cans to car manufacturing.
You're not worried that any of that's going to go back to the consumer? It might, but it's ultimately going to be much less expensive.
That's Garrett Hake reporting from the White House. The Elon Musk-led Department of Government Efficiency has now terminated over $100 million in DEI grants within the Federal Department of Education. DEI stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. The Trump White House has tasked Musk's cost-cutting advisory panel with identifying waste and abuse within the federal government. The White House threatening to dismantle the U.S. Education Department and return education policy to the 50 states. A judge in Boston continues to pause the president's buyout offer to federal workers. 2 million federal workers being offered full pay and benefits if they choose to resign now. That pay would be extended through September. The deferred resignations, however, are on hold because of the judge's order. Legal analyst Katie Cherkasky cannot understand why.
The president is in charge of the executive branch, has authority over federal employees, and the court should be deferring to that executive authority when they're looking at whether a president has overstepped their bounds. And I think it's very ideological and pretty political.
Louisiana Senator John Kennedy says Democratic opposition to the Department of Government Efficiency shows just how addicted to spending Washington has become.
The big picture should not go unnoticed. Some people have chosen to support the bureaucracy and the spending over the American taxpayer.
Meantime, FEMA's under the gun for defying a Trump executive order on superfluous spending. FEMA provided nearly $60 million to fund migrant housing in New York City in direct violation of the president's order. 4 FEMA workers were fired today because of that scandal. Big storm impacting travel for millions of us across the Midwest to the Northeast and all points in between. We'll start to feel the impact later in the work week. Meteorologist David Parkinson.
The largest impact's probably going to be in the D.C. metro area up to Baltimore. You're looking in the, around a half-foot range. As you get closer to Philadelphia, you're probably closer to about 3 inches.
Kansas City's getting 5 to 10 inches of snow today, and we'll see snow flip to rain and then rain flip to snow overnight Wednesday into Thursday. On the health front, there's good news to report for coffee drinkers.
A new study shows that coffee can create bacteria in your gut. Good bacteria, the kind that shows healthy digestion and helps you absorb nutrients. And yes, this includes decaf. The study in Nature Microbiology tracked 300 daily coffee drinkers and the metabolites in their bloodstream. The good bacteria is so distinctive, scientists say that more research needs to be done on the overall health outcomes for coffee drinkers.
Correspondent Jen Clark Nielsen says an average 126 million people watched Super Bowl 59 on Sunday. That is a record and a 2% increase over last year. More than 13.5 million people streamed the game online. You're tuned in to the Noon Report for a Tuesday. Thursday on Family Life.
Welcome back to another edition of Hometown Heroes on Family Life. I'm Mark Webster. This week, part 2 of our interview with Doug Reifenberg of Victory Sports, a Western New York ministry advancing the gospel by distributing sports gear to youths. He says sports and the gospel play perfectly together.
My son plays football at Brockport, and they have a strong program out there called Athletes in Rochester. It's kind of a branch of Athletes in Action, and my son's a part of that. And there's a couple dozen kids that go to Bible study every single week, and they pray together before the games and after games. And just to see that happening, on college campuses and college teams is really cool.
Absolutely. And what have you seen here down at your local level with Victory Sports and the impact you've been able to have both here and abroad?
It's kind of amazing how like a used pair of cleats can impact kids around the world. The original idea of Victory Sports was I wanted to be able to help kids play sports and really have it impact their lives. And what I find is youth sports has become so expensive these days that for any kid or family that's trying to try out, for a new sport, sometimes the price alone keeps them from even pursuing that sport.
Oh, yeah.
And so I looked around my house. My son played every sport. My daughter played several sports. And I just noticed all this equipment that was still in great shape that could still be used by somebody. So I started collecting it, and then I put it out there into the community and said, hey, I'm going to start this initiative. If you have any used equipment laying around your house, please share it, give it to us, and we'll find a new home for it. And so we started doing that in, again, August 2017. At that point was when Ralph Wilson Foundation was kind of launching also. So we were able to partner with them to receive some initial funding. And then we went from my garage to a storage unit to a warehouse to a store. And God blessed us all along the way and gave us provisions and the money and then the contacts to help us do this. Over the last 7 years or almost 8 years now, we've probably given away close to $1 million worth of free sports equipment to kids. We started many different initiatives like during COVID. If you remember, obviously during COVID, schools were closed. A lot of PE programs and recreational programs all went online. The Ralph Wilson Foundation, through partnership with them and the Buffalo Bills and many other organizations, we actually came up with this program called the Ball Bin Program, where we ended up going and putting these bins in 24 parks across Western New York, Lockport and Niagara Falls and downtown Buffalo and the South Towns, wherever we could find a park and a community that wanted to partner with us, we put a bin and we would fill that with equipment every week. So we put in there basketballs and soccer balls and footballs and jump ropes and hula hoops, things that kids could go then to that park on their own and go and use to recreate and stay physically active. We also then, kind of always looking at what's happening in society. And back when there was a lot of the protests and Black Lives Matters and defund the police, I just felt like Victory Sports could play a role. So we created a program called Bridge the Gap Sports. I always try to name some of our programming after things that I can also share what Jesus did for us, bridging the gap between our sin and heaven and God and how he bridged the gap for us. And so what we did is we outfitted first every police car in the city of Buffalo. Every police car in the city of Buffalo had a Victory Sports bag, and they had footballs, basketballs, and soccer balls in it. It allowed those police officers to, when they came up on a group of kids, they could grab a football and go walk up to those kids and start a conversation that they probably wouldn't have been able to start without having that ball in their hand. There were some news stories about police officers playing catch with kids. A lot of that was because of the equipment that we were able to supply. We then branched off into Niagara County, and we outfitted every single law enforcement vehicle in Niagara County. And the reviews we got from that were great. And again, it's just using the power of sports for a police officer then to make connections with kids in their community to help improve the relations that were really strained at that point.
It's amazing what simple football or even a little baseball can eventually lead to.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the ways that we have income coming in is, in addition to donors and things like that, about 3 years ago, we opened up an outlet store. Originally, we opened up in the Eastern Hills Mall, and now we're on Main Street in Clarence. So we have a standalone store. It's an outlet store where we sell used sports equipment very inexpensively. So our goal is to help those families that really are in need. We deal a lot with foster families. Anybody can come shop our store. But what's cool with that, too, is we give away Bibles. I'm able to talk to parents about sports and how it made an impact in my life and the kids' lives and how they can use it to help their kids, too, and help the community. We've given away hundreds of Bibles. If anybody looks up victorysports.org, you'll see in our name, the T in Victory is a cross. So wherever we go, we take our cross with us and we try to share the love of Jesus with people. A lot of what we want to try to do is partner with churches. I don't have connections with every church, so I'd love to connect with every church that's out there that has a group that's maybe going on a missions trip, whether it's to a developing country or whether it's in Buffalo. We've done a lot in the city city of Buffalo with some of the things that happen, like at the Dream Center and different things that go on in the city of Buffalo over the summer with ministry. But any organization, any church that has a need for sports equipment, one of my goals is to launch a website that's called just sportsministrygear.com. And I want to start connecting with pretty much every sports ministry in the country and to be able to alleviate that expense that they have for equipment. I personally have been on like one mission trip, but I look at myself as more in Victory Sports, more as the equipper. You know, you have to have somebody to help equip the people that are going out there and doing the work. I want to be able to equip those kids and those pastors that are churches that are going out there and doing God's work. Our goal is to really just help spread the gospel through sports.
That's Doug Reifenberg with the Western New York ministry Victory Sports. You can learn more at victorysports.org. Please join us again next time as we search for your home, your town, your hero. It's Hometown Heroes on Family Life.
Thank you, Mark. Hometown Heroes comes your way Tuesdays during the Noon Report. You can subscribe, listen to, and share this feature along with all our original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or FamilyLife.org.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. A very busy weather pattern. Low pressure passing well to our south this afternoon. Tonight will clip some areas south of Interstate 80 in Pennsylvania with a touch of snow. Another system that passes off to our north and west. That's snow, ice, rain, and wind. That'll be Wednesday night and Thursday. Oh, and by the way, we're tracking a weekend system and a stronger system potentially for later next week. In the meantime, for this afternoon and tonight, generally cloudy with a few scattered flurries. Some light snow across parts of Pennsylvania near and south of I-80. High temperatures nearing 30, low tonight in the teens. For tomorrow, cloudy, snow or wintry mix arriving late in the day. High temps mid-20s to mid-30s. The wintry mix changes to rain showers tomorrow night. Rain showers will change back to snow showers Thursday. The temperatures falling from the 40s into the 20s.
All right, enough to make your head spin. Thank you, Kevin. Finally at noon, according to Italian researchers, you should really think about petting your dog before you leave for work each day. How come? Correspondent Bree Tennis tells us how come.
Researchers at the University of Pisa in Italy found if you pet your dog one last time before racing out the door, it will reduce anxiety for your pet and you, because petting a dog for 5 minutes lowers the stress hormone cortisol and increases oxytocin. That's the feel-good hormone. Research shows it's a win-win for all. I'm Bree Tennis.
All right, Bree, thank you very much. And that's our world, folks. The world we live in. Tuesday, February 11th. I'm Bob Price. Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.